I'm Dave Baker.
And I'm Andrew Price.
Welcome to Deep Cuts, the podcast where we pick a topic and walk you through the ins, the outs, and the nitty-gritty. What the fuck, nitty-gritty? Welcome to Deep Cuts, the podcast where we pick a topic and walk you through the ins, the outs, and the nitty-gritty, so you can appear like an interesting and idiosyncratic person at your next forced social function. Today's topic is...
Batman. Or, more specifically, how his creation isn't that cut and dry.
Created in March of 1939, Batman is an international pop culture icon. With multiple movie franchises, mountains of comic books, and landfills filled with merchandise, he's a character nearly every human on Earth recognizes. That being said, the story behind his creation isn't quite as simple as you'd think. Act 1. A man named Bill, a boy named Bob. Milton Finger, professionally known as Bill Finger, was born on February 8th, 1914. He was born in Denver, Colorado to a Jewish family. His father, Louis Finger, was born in Austria in 1890, and his mother, Tessie, was born in 1893 in New York. Finger had two sisters, Emily and Gilda. The Finger family lived in the Bronx, where Louis worked as a tailor running a small shop. Bill graduated from DeWitt Clinton High School in 1933, alongside many future comic book professionals, a small selection of which includes Stan Lee, Will Eisner, and, you guessed it, Bob Kane.
Bobby Kane. Citizen Kane.
Dude, they need to make a biopic about Bob Kane and call it Citizen Kane. I would watch that. DeWitt Clinton was kind of like the Skull and Bones Society of future comic book movers and shakers, except without any of the hazing rituals involving putting your dick into a real human skull. Probably. Bill Finger met his future Batman collaborator at a party where they bonded over common interests like comics, pulp novels, and adventure films.
Wait a minute, Dave. You have to explain to a probably not insignificant number of the listeners that what you just said, that reference you just made.
Which reference?
There is a secret society called the Skull and Bones Society.
People don't know this?
I think there's probably a bunch of people who are just like, what did you just say?
Oh, all right. Well, okay, so there's a secret society called the Skull and Bones Society, which I believe is at Harvard, and they are a fraternity that every major American world leader has been a part of for the last 100 years, basically. And their hazing ritual, you're officially one of the club rite of passage, is that they have a real human skull, and you put your genitals inside the eye socket of the skull. It's a real thing. I'm not making it up.
You also, that you get into a coffin and like jerk off while everyone's outside.
Yep.
There's a movie about it. It's not a real historical movie. It's like a fictional thriller starring that guy from Dawson's Creek. I think it's called Skull and Bones.
Josh Jackson?
Yes.
I've never seen that movie. I thought you were going to say, like, you need to explain what pulp novels are. And I was like, really? People don't know what that is?
No, I was like, I feel like there is like a percentage of listeners who's going to hear you saying, it's like the Skull and Bones, except for they don't have to stick their dick in a human skull. And they're just like, whoa, 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 whoa. And then you just gloss over it.
I think that's funnier than explaining it. It's just like losing a large percent of the audience who's just like, dicks in skulls, what? Bill was living the simple life at the time. After graduating, he was working as a part-time shoe salesman when he agreed to come help Bob Kane work on some concepts for the newly burgeoning medium of the comic books.
Picture box books.
He'd been writing in his free time, and Bob Kane had been working somewhat steadily in the newly blossoming field. The state of the comic book industry at the time was in something of upheaval. Superheroes had become all the rage in 1939 with the creation of Superman. National Publications, which would later rename itself DC Comics, wanted more, in air quotes, caped characters. So they approached freelancers in order to come up with ideas for other characters. That's where Robert Bob Kane Kahn really enters the picture in a big way. Bill Finger got to work in Bob Kane's studio. As a ghostwriter, Bill began writing scripts for Bob to take credit with other artists to draw for.
Look into my eyes and steal my writing.
Bob Kane was ostensibly a middleman who would just put his name on everything he got published. He didn't actually write or draw anything that he's credited on, specifically and especially Batman. Look at it this way. This is what the original Batman comics looked like. Andrew, do you want to describe this for us?
Yeah. Number one, we've got Batman with a hyphen between bat and man, which that's not something we're used to. Batman has become known as one word. And as a matter of fact, pretty much the only superhero that hyphenates like that is Spider-Man in the modern vernacular. And it's like any 1940s comic you've seen. It's got that particular style to it. It's just some guys sitting around talking, calling people on the phones. I haven't read this, so I don't know what the context of any of this is. But at the top, where the title is, where it says, okay, that's Gordon. At the top where, it says the Batman. Number one, it says the Batman, which is another thing that we don't call him anymore. We call him Batman. But there's the title, and then there is an illustration of Batman standing on a roof. He's in silhouette, and he's a little different than our modern idea of Batman. His cape, it looks less like a flowing cape that he's wearing, and it looks like one of those kind of like Leonardo da Vinci like wing contraptions. And his cowl, which we can't actually see him, it's just in silhouette, but his cowl, the shape of it is noticeably different than the modern idea of Batman. Like no matter what version of Batman and the hundreds of different incarnations of him, he generally he has these defining characteristics that can vary slightly, but for the most part, when you see Batman, you know that it's Batman. You recognize these characteristics. For this version of Batman, instead of the ears of his cowl kind of being at the top, they're on the sides sticking out almost like antenna rather than bat ears. And he's got like a really rounded top of the head that just is very different than how we think of Batman.
The strip is credited to Robert Kane, but it's REB'T-Kane. Yeah. Robert Kane. And it's the Batman in the case of the Chemical Syndicate. The main caption is, "The Batman, a mysterious and adventurous figure fighting for righteousness and apprehending the wrongdoer in his lone battle against the evil forces of society. His identity remains unknown." The home of Commissioner Gordon, who at the moment is entertaining his young socialite friend, Bruce Wayne. Commissioner, anything exciting happening these days?
No. Oh, except this fellow they call the Batman puzzles me. Ring, ring. Hello? What's that? Lambert, the Chemical King, stabbed to death? His son's fingerprints on the knife? I'll be right over. Talk about something exciting. Oh, Lambert has been murdered at his mansion. I'm going there now. Like to come along?
Oh, well, nothing else to do. Might as well. The Commissioner and Bruce speed toward the Lambert residence.
Hello, Sergeant. Everything under control?
Yes, sir. We've got young Lambert in the back room. And after the thorough examination of the scene of the crime, the room becomes busy with the usual police routine.
I'm finishing here. Let me talk to young Lambert. Hello, Lambert. They say you killed your father.
I didn't do it, Commissioner. Believe me. I didn't do it. And that's the first page of the Batman comic, which we've just read. So Bob Kane didn't draw this. He didn't write this. Bill Finger wrote this. There were a bunch of assistants that Bob Kane used during this time period. And as we're going to explore, Bob Kane, real not cool guy. Real piece of doo.
Can you imagine this? Things like this still happen in shades nowadays. Like I think one of the biggest examples of how things like this happen now is like that there are these like media companies like BuzzFeed or any of these media companies, Upworthy or whatever. They're better about it now where their articles are credited in the way that a news article would be with a byline. It says who wrote it. But for the longest time, it would be like you'd work at like BuzzFeed or whatever and you'd write this listicle and it wouldn't have your name on it. It would just be like, this company made this and you have no ownership over it and you have no claim to it. And that's still the case now. At least you can get your name on something. You write something for these companies and it's just owned by the company. But I think that there's a lot of problems with that, but it's at least not as egregious as this. Can you imagine something like this happening where it's just like some guy just says he made something that he didn't make and that would just somehow be allowed to happen and those people wouldn't speak up and be like, this guy's fucking lying. I made this.
Yeah, I feel like stuff like this happens all the time. Maybe not to the degree that because Batman was so long ago, so it has this long history and it's had time to become such a massive success. But yeah, people get fucked over all the time. It sucks. It really sucks. Yeah. And it's so funny too, because it's so glaringly like Stan Lee at least created a permission structure to where he was good at being like, this is like a gray area. This guy did this stuff and I'm giving him credit for that. And this person did that stuff. And I'm just like writing the dialogue and like, I'm honest, but I'm still a vital co-creator, blah, blah, blah.
Plausible deniability.
Yeah. Whereas Bob Kane, okay, so like this drawing, let's talk about this drawing underneath it. So basically this drawing is from, the 1940s. It's an early Batman comic strip. And then there's another drawing that we're going to look at. In the 1989 Batman feature film, Bob Kane has, in air quotes, an artistic cameo where there's a drawing that is credited as a Bob Kane drawing. And it's supposed to be like a police sketch artist drawing what people are describing Batman as. And it is a cutesy, big-headed bat anthropomorphized bat wearing a suit that has bat wings on it. There's a big square Bob Kane signature in the bottom corner, and it says, "Have you seen this man?" at the top. And it's very prominently featured in a shot in the 89 Batman movie.
Yeah, which is obviously the joke of it, is that the thing he draws is not anything like what Batman looks like. It's like a weird joke version of it, which is like a bat guy wearing a suit. But aside from that, it's not a bad drawing. No, it's a pretty cool drawing. The issue being, Bob Kane didn't make that drawing. Look at the style. Look at the way that the anatomy of that. Look at the cross-hatching of that, the way blacks are spotted. That drawing did not come from the same hand that made the Batman page right above it. Yeah, it's obvious. It's not, that's something most people wouldn't notice. But if you really thought about it, it's completely different. The story goes, Bob, after visiting a museum, had an idea to create a character that would utilize Da Vinci's flying man as the underskeleton for a superhero. He thought the flying contraption Da Vinci had theorized looked something like a bat and came up with the name Batman. So, when DC approached him for a new character, he broached the subject with Bill Finger to see if he could shape the character into a superhero, or if Bill Finger could take the name and make something else from scratch that Bob Kane would then completely and utterly take credit for. Sounds a little familiar. If you want to go back and check out episode 24, Who Actually Created Spider-Man? Only problem being, all of Bob Kane's ideas just fucking sucked. He wanted Batman to be a blonde superhero wearing red spandex and having a flying machine. That's about all he had. Andrew, this is Bob Kane's original drawing. Can you describe what this is? This looks like Mr. Incredible from The Incredibles' beta-cucked cousin. This drawing looks like the first draft you turn in one of your foundation art classes, and your teacher just says, "Nah, do it again." Yeah, this looks like the early draft of what Mark Mothersbaugh thought that Devo should look like. This drawing looks like an early bootleg Italian superhero. Those like weird, like they only had one image of somebody and then they made their own superhero kind of based off of it with the same name. But it's all the details are wrong and fucked up. This looks like shit. It looks like shit. Basically, it's a white blonde guy wearing a red spandex suit, black underoos, big yellow belt, and a large black winged flying apparatus and a black domino mask. It's not an awful drawing. Like, I don't even know if he drew this. I mean, yeah, that's a good question. It's a good question. But it's not an awful drawing. It's not like, we're not sitting here saying like, oh, if you saw this, it looks like a fucking 5-year-old drew it or something like that. It's just the character design of it is not interesting. And if this was what Batman was, then he would not have endured in the American consciousness whatsoever. Bill took this idea and ran with it in a completely other direction. Bill suggested that they make him more of a Spirit of Vengeance character, modeled on pulp characters like Zorro, the Phantom, and the Shadow. A creature of the night with a dual identity, just like all the previously mentioned characters. Bill Finger was the one who came up with the idea of Gotham City, based off of his looking in the phone book and seeing Gotham Jewelers. Want to guess who came up with the Batmobile, the actual look of the Batman costume, Robin, the Joker, Penguin, Catwoman, and Commissioner Gordon? Yeah, that's Bill Finger. Oh yeah, Dave? Who came up with the Bat card? That's my fucking question.
Joel Schumacher.
God bless the king. R.I.P. King.
Bill was the person that said Batman should be clothed in dark grays and blacks, and that he should have a cape and a cowl, and that he should have a bat logo on his chest. Bill came up with Batman, except he didn't, because Bob Kane came up with the name, and he had been approached by DC. And here's the kicker. Bob Kane's father was a lawyer, and in the early days of comic books, where all of the work that was created by young, poor, Jewish kids who didn't have access to legal representation, this was an anomaly. So, you want to guess what happened? Yeah, the guy whose daddy was a lawyer got a better deal than the dude who was already working as a ghostwriter whose father was a tailor and an immigrant. To put it bluntly, Bob Kane was a piss-poor excuse of a man. He was a habitual liar, actively worked to undermine Bill for the rest of his life, and was just a shallow, womanizing, complete turd of a bottom feeder. Obviously, we know where the story goes from here. Batman becomes a massive success, and because of the specific clause that Bob Kane's father put in the initial contract, which stipulated that Bob Kane could be the only person credited for creating Batman, Bill Finger was never given any sort of credit for his work. The exact terms of Bob Kane's Batman deal are still unknown. However, they were altered at least once. Siegel and Schuster, the writer and artist behind the creation of Superman, were putting together a lawsuit against DC Comics for the rights to Superman in the 1950s, claiming that they had been swindled. They approached Bob Kane and attempted to get him on their side for a class action lawsuit. For anybody who doesn't know, it's a horrible, fucked up story, and they got fucked over so hard because National Publications was run by the mob. Bob expressed interest, but inquired as to their legal strategy. They informed him, and then he promptly went to DC and snitched.
God damn it. Fucking narc.
He said he wanted to renegotiate his deal for Batman, and he wanted an increased ownership stake, or he'd join the lawsuit. If they agreed to his terms, then he'd tell DC Siegel and Schuster's legal strategy. This only served to make things even worse for Bill Finger. So before we move on, we're going to now watch a little video from a series called Comic Book Greats, which was a direct-to-VHS series of informational tapes hosted by the one and only Stan the Man Lee. And this episode features Robert Kahn.
Hello, heroes. This is Stan Lee, and I've got a rare treat for you today. Not only is he a good friend of mine, but he's one of the top names and one of the top talents in the comic book business. So without any further ado, my buddy Bob Kane.
Is it, though? He hasn't put out a book since, like, the 40s.
Also, you can tell that they're just not friends at all. Just the chemistry is just, you can tell.
May not know what you do. What is it that you're known for?
You gotta be kidding.
I am, of course.
Well, originally I created Courageous Cat.
That was that animated.
What if just in this moment he just can't do it anymore and he just breaks down and he's like, what is it you're known for? And he's like, you gotta be kidding. And he's like, nothing. I'm a fraud. And he just starts crying and he's just like, I've never done anything significant in my life. Everything I've ever been known for is stolen. And he just pulls out a gun and shoots himself.
My name is Robert Kahn, and I'm a lawyer. This ascot was paid for by the blood, sweat, and tears of artists that I screwed over. I'm a horrible excuse for a man.
And then Stanley's like, man, glad I'm not that guy.
Yeah, an animated cartoon. But I think when I was 18, I tripped across a character called Batman.
How do you pronounce it?
Batman? B-A-T-man. It was called Batman by Robert Kane. In 1939, when I was 3 years old, Stan. That's when I created the Batman. I'm now 42 on my good days. Anyway, Batman is my claim to infamy.
Yeah, I always thought it was the cat, and Batman sort of came along accidentally. But okay, we'll talk. How about if we talk about Batman instead of the cat? Would you like
well,
to do
Batman was first. Cat came later.
The cat came after the Batman.
Absolutely.
Right. Now, you seem to be fingering a book here, which I have a feeling if I twisted your arm, you might be willing to talk about a little bit, right?
Is this a commercial for me, Stan?
Before we talk about it.
Okay.
Before we talk about it, let me just ask you this. How did you get into comics? Have you always wanted to be a comic book artist?
Actually, no. I wanted to be a salesman. No, I wanted to be a truck driver. No, actually, when I was a kid, I was a doodler. I lived in the Bronx in New York. I was a poor kid, very poor. And in fact, we were so poor, I used to wear my sister's hand-me-down dresses. No, we were poor, and a tough neighborhood, too, I lived in.
Must have made quite an impact with the dresses.
Well, yeah, in those days, you know, it was a little... at any rate, Stan, it was a short run from the subway to my home. It was a tough neighborhood. Thank you, Rodney Dangerfield. I was always doodling on the sidewalks in New York and my school books. I loved cartoons my whole life. My dad was a printer for the Daily News, and he used to bring home the Sunday comics to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The Daily News Sunday comics?
Absolutely. He was a printer. And
Dick Tracy and Orphan Annie and all of those?
Absolutely. Mutt and Chef, Popeye.
Right.
And I used to copy him almost as...
Popeye was in the Journal American, I think.
Was in those days, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
So my dad brought home the comics to me, and I used to copy them, and they looked as good as the originals. And my dad brought it downtown to all the famous cartoonists, and they said, hey, your son might have a future as a cartoonist.
Really?
Absolutely. The doodler from the Bronx, who became a famous cartoonist and a legend in his own mind along the way. But really, that's how it all started. I was always doodling, and I loved comics, and...
Were you working in comic books before you created Batman, or was that your entry into comics?
No, actually, in 1936, when I was about 14 years old or 15, I worked for Iger and Eisner, who had a comic book called Wow Comics. Wow Comics was one of the early comic books that printed original comic art. Okay,
Yeah.
So I did some fill-ins for them, funny stuff, just laughs for $5 a page. The reason I didn't stay with them was I wanted $10 a page, and they wouldn't give it to me. Now, in 1936, believe it or not, $10 was a lot of money.
I know.
So they said, no, we passed. So I went over to DC Comics, unfortunately for them. Should have given me Will Eisner that $5 raise. You know, you lost out on a big thing, the Batman. And I went to DC doing fill-in comics, and then Whitney Ellsworth was an editor. Lo and behold, the plot thickens. And he said to me one day, I said to him rather, how much are Superman Joe Shuster and Jerry Siegel making on the Superman comics? He said $75,000 a year apiece. I was making $5,000 a year for doing little fill-ins. He said, listen, Bob, could you do another superhero? I said, for that kind of money, you'll have it on Monday.
For that kind of money, you'd be the superhero.
Boy, you better believe it. I'll steal it somewhere. And I went home, and lo and behold, I thought about all my childhood heroes when I was a kid in my world of fantasy, such as...
I love that he can't even bring himself to say, I created Batman. He says, I tripped over a character called Batman.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny how there's like little things that are obviously supposed to be like jokes. It's like, oh, I just created a little thing called Batman, you know, as a joke, but it's also clearly this like Freudian subconscious covering up for something with a joke.
Yeah, Stan does it too all the time. He always says, I've told this story so many times, it just might be true.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see somebody like making a joke about that, but it's true, and they're using it to like white out like an aspect of something that they just can't bring themselves to psychologically confront.
It's funny because you can just feel the bullshit. They're both completely insincereing each other.
This is a vortex of bullshit. This is a black hole of bullshit. Like, it's like such a vortex of bullshit that they're transporting us to a different reality where all of this is true.
Also, I just have to point out, my favorite thing about Bob Kane is his love for ascots, and this video does not disappoint. He is wearing an ascot in this video, and I love that he's wearing an ascot, because you gotta hide that weird, flabby old man chin goiter somehow.
You gotta hide the little, like, weird vestigial face that's formed in his chest that's constantly screaming, I'm lying about everything! Kill me! I'm a manifestation of his lies. Every day is pain. Every time he cashes a paycheck for Batman, it feels like I'm being thrown and cast into the sun.
Act 2. Things go from weird to weirder. Bill ended up leaving comics mostly. He worked on some other books like Green Lantern and Legion of Superheroes before moving to work in film. He wrote movies like The Green Slime and The Snow Devils, which came out in the 1950s and 60s. He also wrote 2 episodes of the Batman 1966 TV show, A Cruel Twist of Fate. He was good enough to write on the TV show Batman, but not good enough to receive credit for creating the character. Bill Finger passed away on January 18th, 1974, alone in his apartment in New York. Bob, however, reaped the benefits of pretending to be the man who created Batman for years. From appearing in the 1989 Batman film to Legends of Comic Book Art, which we just watched, he made the rounds pretending like he could draw and hamming it up for anyone who would listen. To add insult to injury, he was anything but passive about how he was the only person who worked on Batman, saying in a fanzine,
"The myth. Bob Kane is not the sole creator of Batman. I've heard it 1,000 times in my lifetime that Batman was really created by Bill Finger, Jerry Robinson, Carmine Infantino, Jack Schiff, Julie Schwartz, my publisher, etc., and my housekeeper. The truth. All hogwash. I, Bob Kane, am the sole creator of Batman. I created Batman in 1939, and it appeared, if memory serves me correctly, in Detective Comics as a 6 or 8 page story, and I signed the first strip, Robert Kane. I read your article that you sent me, If the Truth Be Known, a finger in every plot. And it seemed to me that Bill Finger has given out the impression that he and not myself created the Batman, as well as Robin and all the other leading villains and characters. This statement is fraudulent and entirely untrue. That is myth, and I quote an excerpt from the article written by Jerry G. Bales. The cowl and cape, the utility belt and gauntlet were all Bill's contribution. Also, further down in the article, and again I quote, Bill also created Robin, of course, but also Commissioner Gordon, who appeared in the first Batman story, Alfred, the Penguin, the Catwoman, etc. I challenge Bill to repeat these statements in front of me. I am sorry that I was absent from the Comicdom's convention so that I could have answered him. The truth is that Bill Finger is taking credit for much more than he deserved, even before I called Bill in to help me write the Batman. I created the title, masthead, the format and concept, as well as the Batman figure and costume. Robin, the Boy Wonder, was also my idea, not Bill's.
Which is so funny because he's freely admitting that Bill wrote on Batman in the early stages and that he was there from the beginning. He should be given co-creator credit. Like, what the fuck? God, it's so fucking dumb. Creation is execution. You can't copyright an idea, only the execution of an idea. So if Bob is saying, I had the idea, it doesn't matter, was so doggedly haunted by Bill Finger's specter that he even tried to fake Batman's creation by pretending to find uncovered early drawings in his records when he released his autobiography. Do you buy these drawings right here? This is a scan from, he put out an autobiography in the 80s, around the time that Batman 89 movie came out. And these were in that book. These are his notes and ideas that he supposedly came up with in 1939. Or no, this one, it's dated January 17th, 1934. So he would have been like fucking 13 years old when he had this. These are really good drawings for a fucking 13-year-old or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't believe it. I can't definitively say either way, obviously. I don't know, but I don't. I have no. There's nothing here that definitively like, oh yeah, these are obviously fake. But considering everything that's been said, it seems pretty clear that they're fake. To
me, knowing how things evolve over time, these drawings are way too close to what Batman actually is. I would believe it if they were further away from the creation of Batman. You know what I mean? Like
I guess, yeah, what I'm trying to articulate, which is what you just said, help me figure it out, is like this drawing of Batman, it looks like somebody who's like trying to quickly doodle an existing character that they already have seen. If you were just like, I'm going to just quickly draw a little thing of what Batman looks like. It doesn't feel like a design for a new character. It feels like a quick thumbnail of an existing thing that you've already seen. Yeah, it's just so blatantly him trying to be like, look, I got the receipts, look. Like even just in the stuff that we've done, where I've done concept sketches for stuff or my comics. That shit's always fake. No, I mean, everything, the process these things go from is like the concept designs and the ideas are always really complex. And then as you implement them and have to draw them hundreds and hundreds of times, they get simplified and simplified. Where these drawings are simple and Batman is more complex. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was originally like a 5-headed elephant monster. It's very true. This is very true. And then I finally got simplified into Pizza Paparizza. The next thing I want to briefly talk about as more of a character illustration is Bob Kane's gravestone. Have you seen his gravestone before? I have. Would you do us all of the favor of reading Bob Kane's gravestone and describing what it looks like? So Bob Kane's gravestone is an open book. It's a stone that has been carved to look like an open book. At the top of the left side is the bat signal. It's like the Batman logo with these stylistic lines coming out of it that makes it seem like it's the bat signal, like beaming the bat signal out into the sky. And it says Robert Kahn, aka Bob Kane, October 24th, 1915 through November 3rd, 1998. God bestowed a dream upon Bob Kane. Blessed with divine inspiration and a rich imagination, Bob created a legacy known as Batman.
What bullshit!
I want my gravestone to say Papa Pricey, aka Pizza Paparizza, aka Andrew Price, aka David Price, February 23rd, 1988 through October 14th, 3040, because many people don't know this, but we're about to solve the life extension. We're gonna get to a utopian point where you have to choose when you are done with life, basically. And it's gonna say, God bestowed a dream upon Pizza Paparizza, blessed with divine inspiration and a rich imagination. Papa Pricey created the Pizza Paparizza Memorizza Celebrizza at the Mountains of August Madness Final Showdown.
All right, keep reading this fucking thing because it gets so crazy.
Introduced in a May 1939 comic book, Batman grew from a tiny acorn into an American icon, a quote-unquote hand of God creation. Batman and his world personify the eternal struggle of good versus evil, with God's law prevailing in the end. This is like, he's really overselling that there's like some kind of weird religious divine element to Batman. Bob Kane, Bruce Wayne, Batman, they are one and the same. Bob infused this dual identity character with his own attributes: goodness, kindness, compassion, sensitivity, generosity, intelligence. Just imagine, he's like, man, I am so kind, compassionate, sensitive, generous, intelligent. I have so much integrity, so much courage, so much purity of spirit. I got to put all of that into this character. Batman is known as the Dark Knight, but through his deeds, he walks in the light of a higher power, as did his creator, Bob Kane. Beloved husband, father, grandfather, in loving memory. This is like whenever ICP revealed the secrets of the Dark Carnival, and it just ended up being that they were Christians. This is such a like reverse. This is such a like retroactive acting like this thing was in any way like some kind of religious thing.
I just can't even get over this. Like, I can't get over this. Like, this is just otherworldly. It's otherworldly.
A normal person does not commission their gravestone to say these things about themselves. A normal person is not like, when I die, I want my gravestone to say that I created an American icon that was directly inspired by the divine light of Christ.
You know what Jack Kirby's grave is like? It's a fucking plaque that says Jack Kirby, the dates of his life, the date of his death, and it says beloved father, husband, creator, and it has a little crown on top of it.
It says I was moidalized, which is what I've actually said in the past that I want to be on my gravestone, is moidalized October 4th, 3020.
I thought it was 3040. Over the years, people have taken up the quest to restore Bill's name to receiving widespread credit for his creation, but they've all failed. The legal precedent set was that there must be an heir to bring a claim. Only problem being, no one was aware of any children or grandchildren that Bill Finger had. Enter writer and obsessive Batman researcher Mark Nobleman. He found Bill's long-lost son, and after years of searching by just blindly calling anyone with the last name Finger, he also found his granddaughter, Athena Finger.
My God, truly a nobleman.
They brought a legal suit against DC, and after years of fighting, they won. They didn't do it for the money. They literally just wanted Bill's name on the books and the films. And now, it's there. Batman, created by Bob Kane with Bill Finger, is on all major Batman releases. Gotham, Batman vs. Superman, Justice League, it's all there. The good guys finally won. Mark actually went on to write a children's book, Bill the Boy Wonder, and even produce a documentary titled Batman and Bill, which is highly recommended. If you haven't seen it, please go see it. Since being discovered and welcomed into the comic book community, Athena Finger regularly tours the convention circuit. She speaks on panels and answers fan questions. But the real part of this, that's beautiful, is that there's an outpouring of love and support for her from the comic book world that has enabled her to embrace her own artistic ambitions. She paints and sells her artwork at shows. She said multiple times this was something that she was constantly scared to produce because of a fear of rejection. However, now here she is, painting and making art. I like Athena Finger. I've met her a few times. I think she's really nice. Enough said. I think she's a really nice person, and I'm glad that she's embracing her artistic ambitions, and I think it's really cool that the comic book world has been so welcoming to her.
That's funny, because I was going to say, I feel like maybe that fear of rejection was healthy.
Look, man, everybody's got to start somewhere. Everybody's got to start somewhere, you know? Sometimes you start by tracing photos of Hugh Jackman and painting them with fucking Crayola or whatever. I don't know. Look, man, I like Athena Finger. I follow her on Instagram. She's a very positive, nice person. I don't necessarily think that her work is all that and the cat's pajamas, but I think it's cool that she's making it. It's got a weird kind of outsider art thing to it. I'm into it. I'm into her making it. The lady's been through enough, man. Like, her whole life, everyone was just like, your dad didn't fucking create Batman, you fucking liar.
And one day you go through years of that, of people telling you that and telling you that your dad wasn't anything. And then one day you finally get your retribution, and then you can start just selling. You spill some Pepsi on a glass table and then sell it.
I like Athena Finger. I'm glad she's making stuff. I think it's cool.
Hey, you're trying to act. You started this. Like, I was thinking this as soon as I said this, but then you started it. You were the one that was like, no comment. I think she's really nice. I'm being honest. You're bottling up your true emotions.
No, I'm not. I'm just not trying to publicly put some like 50-year-old woman who's just taking up painting as a hobby on blast. I think Athena Finger rules, man. She's been very kind to me at multiple points. I've talked to her before. She's really cool. I follow her on Instagram. She's a very positive person. And I think that her drawings have gotten a lot better since she first started. And I think that is the mark of somebody who's pushing and trying to get better. And I respect that.
And for me personally, I like to go to the local Color Me Mine in town and walk in and just be like, that fucking sucks.
I'm not going to lie to you. I've definitely debated buying Athena Finger paintings before, like full on.
Athena no finger paintings.
The story has somewhat of a bittersweet legacy. Bill Finger, his family doesn't share in the money from Batman, which sucks, but at least he gets credit, which is good. Bob Kane sucks. Batman is a globally recognized brand. It's a pretty crazy story. This is a story that we've talked about before, both on and off the podcast. This is something that obviously I care about a lot in terms of people getting screwed over with their work and not owning their work and having their legacies usurped. Andrew, what are your kind of closing thoughts about this?
I think the colors are a little washed out, and this weird kind of like abstract usage of shapes too. Oh, not Athena Finger's paintings? That's not what you were asking me?
God damn it. Bill Finger and his contributions to the global icon that is Batman and his lack of financial profit from it and lack of credit. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we have a really interesting social experiment that we've conducted unwittingly. Not necessarily unwittingly. I knew that it was going to happen, but we didn't do it on purpose. But it's really interesting to see the results. We have a TikTok at Mystery Treehouse where we do these kind of like short form rapid fire explainers where, you know, in 3 minutes we tell a whole story. So it's like a hyper condensed version of a Deep Cuts episode without any of the conversation. Just like, this is the story. We're going to get through it as quick as possible. And we've done an episode about how Stan Lee largely stole credit for most of the creations that he thought of as having created. And we've done an episode about Bill Finger having Batman, the credit for Batman stolen from him by Bob Kane. And it's interesting because we got like an ocean of hatred, like just pure like death, like wishing death upon us, hatred for the Stan Lee episode. Like, it's like literal blasphemy to say those things. There are people who will send you death threats. They will say that they want you to fucking die in a car crash. They will make videos like cussing you out. There's just so much vitriol when we made this video, which is to be expected. And it's interesting because we did this Bill Finger, Bob Kane video, and we really didn't get as much. There was probably like 80% less negativity. Not that it was like support or positivity. The positivity or the agreement was less drowned out than by the negativity as it was in the Stan Lee one. Like the Stan Lee one was like, there's 5 people who like know the truth. And then there's a million MCU fanboys that are like literally saying they're going to hunt you down and fucking cut your head off. In the Bill Finger one, there really wasn't a lot of that. There was mostly almost ambivalence. Most people being like, huh, who knew or whatever. And it's interesting. It's interesting that because of the propaganda campaign that Stan Lee crafted around himself for his entire life and career, largely with those cameos, that he created this almost cult-like following around him of people who by design, or maybe even not by design, maybe it was a total accident, but people who just like really don't actually know anything about him or about comics at all. They just think of, it's like you see the Marvel movies and you're like, oh, like that guy is in all the movies. He must be the guy who created all of them. Almost like using that, like, you're hinting at something and you're letting people draw conclusions and using that to your advantage. Stan Lee's propaganda campaign was like largely successful. Like he, if nothing else, he was like a genius of fucking crafting a cult of personality around himself. Whereas like Bob Kane succeeded in stealing that credit for his lifetime, but failed at like the overall cementing of a legacy in a way. Cause like people don't really know who he is really.
Well, he's also like, he's not a very charismatic person. Like he's not
charismatic. People don't know who he is. He kind of ended up losing in the end where Bill Finger did like posthumously after Bob Kane's death. He did get credit in the end. Like his campaign failed. And not to say that it's all good in the end. Bill Finger he died. He didn't get to see any of this or whatever. And he didn't get any money. It's definitely not a success story at all. But it's also like Bob Kane failed in the end of his attempt at this land grab of a legacy, which is a good thing. But it's interesting how these two stories were put out there and, you know, they're both the same. They're and yet one got such vitriol and the other one didn't really get that reaction because of that lack of talent in being this like charismatic charmer person.
Yeah, I think it's a weird thing too, because there's like an unspoken third leg of the table, right? Where the Stan Lee and Jack Kirby conflict, it's like Stan Lee is the dominating cult of personality. He's in all these movies. The truth is that Jack Kirby did 85% of the work. Stan was there to massage the dialogue, which in some cases was very important and in other cases not so much. So on a good day, Stan is really influencing the creations. On a bad day, he's just like a copy editor, grammar Nazi type. With the Batman situation, not only do you have Bob Kane taking credit for all of this stuff that he had nothing to do with, but you also have Bill Finger who's writing all of it, and it's this weird silent partner where he's not a good showboat, charismatic person either. And then you also have an army of ghost artists where all of these, it's a strange conversation because we should be having a conversation that's Batman was created by Bill Finger and Jerry Robinson, or Bill Finger and Carmine Infantino, or Bill Finger and insert all of these different people here. But a lot of those people aren't recognized broadly, in comic circles, let alone in mainstream circles. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know. I'm a pretty hardcore fan, and I don't even know all of the names of the assistants because not all of them went on to bigger and better things. Some of them literally just were Bob Kane's assistants for a little while, and then that was all they did. And like Jerry Robinson is very vocal that he was the co-creator of the Joker, and he came up with the idea for the Joker, and Bill Finger helped him flesh it out, and they based it on this movie, The Man Who Laughs. And the reason he got hired to draw Batman was because Bob Kane was at a tennis resort, and Jerry Robinson was a tennis boy there, like a ball boy, and he was wearing a jacket that he had painted a Joker card on the back of. And Bob Kane came up to him and was like, "Did you draw that Joker? That's cool. Do you like Batman?" And took him under his wing and helped him like become a cartoonist, right? That he could take credit for all of his work because he was a kid that wasn't involved in the industry. But there's all these stories like this that we should be discussing, and we're just not, because there's no sort of cultural or academic kind of discourse surrounding comics other than Twitter, which is mostly like, can you believe this guy's Kickstarter failed? Fuck that guy. Or like, can you believe this guy touched somebody at a convention? Fuck that guy. Like, very little of comics Twitter is actually about like comics history or in-depth analysis of the work. And it's just a bizarre thing. Like, it's a really weird, it'd be like finding out that Stanley Kubrick didn't direct any of the movies. You know what I mean? Not that Bob Kane is that talented, but just that Batman occupies this huge space in our culture.
There actually is this like conspiracy theory that I've heard that Doug Liman has never directed any of his movies, and that he just like his AD like actually directs it and he just takes credit for it, which I don't have any reason to believe that, but I've just read that weird conspiracy theory on the internet. That's
also such a strange person to be like, Doug Liman. Like, really? That guy?
Yeah, I don't know. I read it when I was reading some stuff about Edge of Tomorrow. I fell into this weird rabbit hole of this conspiracy theory, started seemingly by like one person. In putting out these TikTok videos, I in particular have really just become an expert in the reaction and like the mass opinion about these things, because you just see thousands upon thousands of comments and you just see these consensuses forming and these repeated things. It's so funny how everybody is the same and everybody thinks the same, and we all think that we're unique, but we're all just the same. It's so funny to me. It's like the thing when you work at when you work at a retail store and everybody, if
there's no price tag on it, it's free, right?
Yeah, it's like so funny to me how everybody is the same. And you see these people saying these things that are identical, like just these identical comments. They're not unique thoughts. They're just like learned stereotypes that people have collected from like seeing it said elsewhere. And they think that they have opinions, but they're just parodying sentiments that they've seen. Like, it's like the most mainstream sentiments that they see, they just adopt them by default. And one of the predominant things that I saw time and time again in these comments, whether it was for the Stan Lee video or the Bill Finger video, was there's a significant crossover with these like MCU head, like Marvel movie fanboys that don't actually read the comics, that are like, there's a significant crossover with these like just like business bro type people. And there's this extremely cynical capitalist sentiment that surrounds this whole discussion, where people are like, oh, Alan Moore, Jack Kirby, Bill Finger, like they just got bad deals. Like they should have gotten a better deal. They should have gotten they should have gotten a lawyer. They should have gotten better deals. It's on them for not getting a better deal. That's just how business works. And aside from the fact that's so absurd to me, this idea that that's just how it works and therefore it's fine. It's just so absurd to me that, you know, it's like, because you can swindle people out of things legally, you therefore should, or at the very least, you can't be blamed if you do. Like that, like you legally you can be a dick to everybody around you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you should. That's just such an absurd concept. But the other thing about it is just like the extreme lack of context and knowledge and understanding of the fact that they just didn't have an option of that. Like they couldn't quote unquote get a better deal. There was an extremely imbalanced power dynamic between this huge company and these poor dudes that had no leverage whatsoever. They couldn't afford to get lawyers. They had no leverage at all. They were railroaded into these deals, and to suggest that they should have just gotten a better deal is just insane.
Yeah, I think my final thought will be this quick short story, which I think I've told on the podcast before, but I'm going to say it here anyway. I think a telling example of who Bob Kane was is this story that I've seen repeated multiple times, and I'm going to say right now. So around the time that the '89 Batman movie came out, there were a lot of people courting Bob Kane to do stuff. And this was one of the time periods where the Marvel and DC beef was at an all-time high. So the editor-in-chief of Marvel went to Archie Goodwin, who is a much beloved editor, and was like, we should go get Bob Kane to do something at Marvel. Like, we should that, what a big fuck you to DC. Like, we should get him, we should hire him to do something at Marvel. Archie Goodwin is like, all right, I'll see. Let me go over and have a meeting. Let's see if I can fucking convince him to do something. We'll see. So he goes over to Bob Kane's house. They have dinner. They're wrapping up dinner. And Archie Goodwin's like, Bob, I want to ask you, we're branching out at Marvel. We're doing this creator-owned line called Epic, and we think maybe you might want to do something for it. Do you have any interest in making comics? And Bob Kane was like, I'm actually doing stuff at DC right now. Like, my name is on the Batman books again right now. I have a ghost artist who's working for me, and we're putting out new Batman comics to coincide with the release of Batman '89. And Archie Goodwin goes, yeah, but Bob, you're an artist. Don't you ever miss the act of creating and making stuff? Yeah, I know that you have all these ghost artists that you can get work out under their names, but don't you personally ever want to just make something for the sake of making it? Where's your artistic pride? And Bob Kane looks at him for a moment and then goes, come here. So they walk into Bob Kane's art studio. He turns to Archie Goodwin and goes, what I'm about to show you, you can't tell anyone. You're sworn to secrecy. And Archie Goodwin's like, okay. They go into the closet in the studio, and he opens the back of the closet, and it's a secret door, and it leads them into another studio. And in that studio, it's a painting studio, and there's large, 6-foot tall oil paintings of sad clowns. The type, they're in accountants' offices and dentists' offices. And he says, this is gonna make me in the fine art world. Batman was just the beginning. And Archie Goodwin is looking around, and it's sad clown paintings with big looping Bob Kane boxed signatures at the bottom. And he's like, oh, all right, cool, man. That sounds great. Goes back to Marvel. Flash forward a couple months later. Roy Thomas comes in, the editor-in-chief at Marvel at the time. I think he's editor-in-chief. Anyway, Roy Thomas is the one who comes in. I don't remember if he was editor-in-chief or not at this time. Roy Thomas comes into Archie Goodwin's office, and he's like, hey, Archie, did you hear about Bob Kane? And Archie Goodwin's like, no, what's happening? He goes, Bob Kane is getting sued by his ghost artist. And Archie Goodwin's like, his ghost artist on Batman? What? That guy knows the deal. He knows the situation. He's not getting credit for any of that stuff, but he's suing for the rights to the Batman stuff or something? Not that ghost artist. The ghost artist for the clown paintings. Lies within lies within lies that are all about this idea that Bob Kane is an artist when he isn't really one. It's the pursuit of an artistic ideal and a pursuit of an artistic identity that was so wrapped up in who Bob Kane was, but a complete lack of interest in the sacrifice or struggle that it takes to create work, which is just a fascinating character piece, but also so deeply fucked up and sad.
Yeah, I don't know how you can sleep at night, doing that. I'm not even, the morality of it aside, that's a given. That's fucked up to just do that, steal. That's not stealing. If you hired him as a ghost artist, but to just be to present yourself as an artist, but you didn't actually create any of these things. And also to steal work from somebody like Bill Finger. To reasonable people, that's a given. But aside from that, I'm not even talking about that, but just the idea of living with yourself and sleeping at night, going out there and presenting yourself as somebody who creates and makes things, and you don't actually. I don't know how you could do it. There's this recent Shonen Jump manga that I read because somebody recommended it to me and it sounded interesting. It's called Time Paradox Ghostwriter. So the story is about a young fledgling mangaka who he went to art school. He moved to the city from his small Japanese town, and he was the best artist in the town. Everybody was like, yeah, you're going to be this big mangaka when you get older. He goes to the city and he tries to make it as a mangaka, and he keeps drawing these pitches for one-shots, and he has an editor at Shonen Jump, but every time he goes to pitch his one-shot pitch, his editor rejects it and says it's not good enough. He's technically good at drawing, but his work just has no spark. It has nothing unique that makes it definitively his. And his work, he just emulates styles that he's seen, and there's nothing unique about it. And he has this massive anxiety and imposter syndrome of constantly being rejected and told that he has no real vision or like no spark behind his work. And then one night, lightning strikes his apartment and hits the microwave in his kitchen. And after that happens, issues of Shonen Jump from the future start appearing in his microwave. They're from 3 years in the future. And so he discovers these books, and there's a story in it called The White Knight. In 3 years, it's going to be the biggest hit manga. It's the next Naruto. It's the next One Piece or Dragon Ball Z. This doesn't exist yet. Nobody has ever done this. So in desperation, after his editor says that he has one more chance or else he's dropping him, he copies the first issue of this future manga as his one shot, and he goes and pitches it, and they're just like, oh my God, this is fucking amazing. And it gets in, and then it goes to series, and he becomes this huge popular mangaka with this series, the White Knight. But he's every month a new issue of Shonen Jump appears in his microwave from the future, and he just copies the next issue. And then eventually it turns out that the creator, the original actual creator of the White Knight, is this teenage girl who he assumes, because it's so far in the future, that the person who created it hasn't had the idea yet. But in reality, this teenage girl is working on it in the present. And she just doesn't end up pitching it until years later, but she created the idea already. So when she sees it in Shonen Jump, she's like, what the fuck? Somebody had my exact idea. And so she goes and finds him, and she becomes his assistant, and he realizes that she's this person. And so the whole comic is like, number one, it's interesting because it shows you the behind the scenes process of how making a manga works. So there's sometimes where it'll just turn into an explainer, where it'll just be like, when you want to pitch a manga to Shonen Jump, you create thumbnails and take them to an editor who looks at them. And if he likes them, he pitches them to the main editorial meeting, and it'll just turn into an explainer. But the actual narrative of the show is like this guy who's dealing with imposter syndrome and like struggling with this, like he's finding success, but it's for work that he didn't create, and the guilt of that. And it's for somebody, I'm not saying for everybody, but for me and like a particular type of person, reading that there's like a rock in my stomach the whole time. Like the idea of that nightmare scenario where you like steal something and become popular for it, and then everybody thinks that you made it. Everybody's like praising you, but it's all just false because you didn't actually do the work. Aside from the moral aspect of stealing from somebody, the idea of getting praised for something that you didn't do is like a nightmare for me. That's like realizing you're naked in the middle of class nightmare to me. And I just can't imagine how a person sleeps at night doing that.
I think the answer to that is he sleeps very well because he's garbed in his nighttime ascot.
That's the trick. You need the ascot.
I'm Dave Baker.
And I'm Andrew Price.
This has been Deep Cuts. You can find me on the internet at heydavebaker.com, or you can follow me on the socials at xdavebakerx. Andrew, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me putting out the latest episode of Andrew Price's Deep Cuts with characters by Andrew Price, original stories by Andrew Price, and Dave Baker by Andrew Price. And you can also find me at dapricewrites.com, where you can get a copy of my book that I did with artist Guillermo Villarreal. I wrote the script and he drew the book, and I also did some of the design for the inside and outside. And you can also get some Deep Cuts merchandise at deepcutspod.com, and you click on the shop and you can get some t-shirts with Deep Cuts designs on them, or you can go to bit.ly.com/deepcutsmerch, t-shirts, stickers, all that cool stuff. Junior sleuths, meme chefs, Deep Cuts listeners that increasingly don't understand what this segment is and likely skip over it. It's time for another edition, another quest in the journey of pizza, pizza, paparizza, mimorizza, salabrizza. Let the baking begin. All right, Dave. Let's take a look at these things. Let's get this shit. Let's get this oven preheated to 375 so that things get a nice brown flaky texture, but we don't burn the bottom.
I'm here. I'm ready.
This first meme from Michael Lindquist, and it is a picture, a stock photo of the woods, and it says Mystery Treehouse Fairy Investigation Agency, and it's got a picture. It's got a photo of Sherlock Holmes wearing the deerstalker. It's got a picture of Arthur Conan Doyle, also with a deerstalker hat. It's got Dave and I, and we are in the woods with them, and we are wearing deerstalker caps. And then it's also got the teacher from Fairly Odd Parents, who I'm now blanking on his name, but in the show, he's obsessed with revealing the existence of the fairy godparents that Timmy Turner has. And he's also wearing a deerstalker cap. And they're just in the woods hunting for fairies.
I'm going to give this the Bloss special.
Give the Bloss, the full Bloss? Orders up! Who had the Bloss special?
That's a number 7, baby. 7 out of 10 pizzas.
I'm gonna give this myself. I'm gonna give this a 6.5. This is another one from Michael Lindquist, and it is a photo of a parking lot in the middle of the night, and there's a little picture of Dave, his head on a little boy's body. That's the weird way to say that. It's a little kid with Dave's head photoshopped onto it, and then there's a picture of Freddy Krueger, and he's got a cobra on a leash. And Dave is saying, "Cool, is that a trained snake?" And then Freddy Krueger is saying, "Yes, young Dave, come closer so I can use my knife hand to slit your gooch and use the new hole as, I mean, yes, come pet the trained snake."
Jesus, that's aggressive.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus, that is aggressive.
Oh my God.
Jesus. For the level of aggression that is, I'm going to give that 1.5 pizzas.
Oh no! Yeah,
that is aggressive. That is aggressive.
We all know from the James Heydrich episode that Dave does not like aggressive things. I'm gonna give this a 4. This one's from Mike Millar himself, and it is. It is a red carpet photo, although the carpet is pink in this one. It's a red carpet photo of Henry Cavill standing, looking at the camera, smiling, looking handsome and charismatic, wearing a suit. And then behind him, creeping up slowly behind him, is Jason Momoa about to pounce. And the text over to Henry Cavill says, "Adrian Conan Doyle trying to manage and maintain the dignity of his father's legacy." And then over Jason Momoa, it says, "That fucking door." Of course, referencing the video we watched in the first Arthur Conan Doyle video, where Adrian Conan Doyle is showing the journalist around the little room where he's recreated 221 B Baker Street. And the door to the room keeps swinging open, and he's like trying to shut it as he's talking, and he just keeps opening up, and it's like it's distracting from the entire interview.
I gotta go Fellini Jr. 8.
8? Oh, look, it's Fellini Jr. I gotta give this a Fellini, because it's super, it's simple, it's short, it's sweet, it's uncomplicated. It's an artist who has entered the period where he's comfortable with his medium, and he no longer needs to, no longer feels the need to impress people. It's just solid and effective and effortless, and very funny. Oh yeah, I gotta remember I can't exit out of these because we have to like decide who's the winner after. This is not a real meme. We got one from Bill Bixby's Oscar here. The, only the meme chef that I mercilessly crushed in the Pizza Paparizza Memorizza Celebrizza special episode 1.
You're just turning a full heel.
More like Andrew Price's bitch. Change your name on Facebook, Bill Bixby's Oscar, if that is your real name.
Describe the meme. We
got a photo here. It's Arthur Conan Doyle, Scrooge McDuck in the flesh himself, and he's standing next to Harry Houdini, Mr. Abracadabra Fivehead himself, and he's got Arthur Conan Doyle's holding up a microphone, holding up a stethoscope. What is this instrument? Magnifying glass. And there's these three. They're supposed to be like little fairies, but they're like obviously stock photos from sexy Halloween costume packages. And so it's like a sexy ghost and a sexy fairy, and they're just floating around Arthur Conan Doyle's head. And it says, big money author A.C. Doyle caught funding Spirit Sex Club. Friends say it's bullshit. Wow. That's a strong showing of dissent from Dave against Bill Bixby's Oscar, the usual favorite of the PPP MC. Clearly his confidence has been shaken by his crushing defeat.
Orders up! Who had the blah special?
This one's from Aaron Dockery. This one I find hilarious. This is one of those memes that has gotten kind of old. There was a million different permutations of this, but it's still funny to me. So it's the meme where the template where it's basically like a short exchange between Captain America and Tony Stark that immediately cuts to the Civil War title screen. And in the meme, it's usually like, it's one frame of Steve Rogers and then one frame of Tony Stark. And they say, Steve Rogers says one thing to Tony Stark, and then it just immediately smash cuts to like, they're fighting. It's the Civil War. And in this one, Captain America says, "Aren't you Arthur Conan Doyle?" And Tony Stark is just staring with, indignant rage at Captain America. And then there's a picture of a basket of tater tots in front of him. And then it just smash cuts to Civil War.
I love this.
Which is, of course, referencing the joke in the Arthur Conan Doyle episode where Arthur Conan Doyle is eating tater tots at Buffalo Wild Wings, and a fan approaches him and asks him if he's Arthur Conan Doyle, and they just get into a fight and destroy the entire Buffalo Wild Wings.
I'm gonna go 8.5.
Oh, looks like we got ourselves a full Fellini.
I gotta give this one a 9. It just makes me I gotta go Elijah Wood on it because it just makes me laugh.
It's really good. It's same thing with that Mike Miller one. It's very simple, direct, but really nice. It's solid.
Yeah, this isn't an actual meme. Colin Christensen has a meme where it is my head insultingly photoshopped over. I don't even think this is actually Drew Carey. I think it's the original host of the British,
the English host, Colin something. Yeah,
of Whose Line Is It Anyway? And it's my head photoshopped over his as he's like pressing the buzzer that gives that ends a scene or whatever in Whose Line Is It Anyway? And it says, "Welcome to Deep Cuts Pizza Paparizza Memorizza Celebrizza, where every account is Andrew in disguise and the points don't matter."
10.
While I will not
10
rule out the possibility
10
that every account in the Deep Cuts
10
Facebook group is me
10
gaslighting Dave.
10. This is so. If this one is gaslighting me, I don't care. 10. This is exactly what I'm saying.
I'm deeply offended at the insinuation that the points don't matter, because they absolutely do.
Congratulations, you are now the premium Pizza Paparizza meme chef.
I give this misinformation a 1.
Pizza Paparizza is not so sure about that one.
Why didn't they cast you to play fucking Mario instead of Chris Pine or Chris, whichever Chris it is, Chris Pratt? Yeah,
because they listen to this fucking misinformation. That Colin Christensen's spreading this bullshit about me. He lost me the Mario job. This next one's from Jim Valier, and it is. So it's the scene from Monty Python and the Holy Grail where King Arthur is fighting the Black Knight, and he just keeps maiming him and cutting off his limbs, and the Black Knight just refuses to give up. And so it's the limbless stump of the Black Knight on the ground, but it's Adrian Conan Doyle's head photoshopped over it, and then King Arthur is standing up, but they've photoshopped a door onto King Arthur, and Adrian Conan Doyle is saying, "It is but a flesh wound."
I'm gonna go 6.
6? 6 for this?
Yeah,
this is
nice.
Now that's a mildly spicy pizza.
This is a solid contender. This is at least a 7.5.
I mean, yeah, I can be convinced. Sure. I feel ambivalent towards this one. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. That one's cool.
It's got the solid reference. It all lines up. Man, you've just become jaded by the world. This is another one from Bill Bixby's Oscar.
What the fuck?
Disgraced former champion Bill Bixby's Oscar.
This is amazing. This is amazing.
This is not a meme. This is an outsider art.
This is amazing.
Odyssey that can't even be categorized in any demonstrable way.
This is so good.
It is this illustration painting of it's like a space background, and there's a man's head that we're seeing from the back, and it's like they're sitting there getting a haircut. So it's like they're facing away from the camera, and I think they've got like a haircut smock on, but you can't see that because you really only just see the head and just the very top of the shoulders. And somebody's reaching into the frame, into the camera, and it is a person with their right arm is a human arm, and their left arm is a human arm, and their right arm is a robotic arm. And the human arm has a series of tattoos on it, and one of the tattoos is just a full body photo of Ultraman, and then one of the photos is that morphed Kolchak the Night Stalker two-faced thing where it's Dave and my face mushed together with a pork pie hat on. And then one of the photos is Lorenzo Baker, a picture of Lorenzo Baker's face. And then next to him is Space Goro, and then below them, I actually don't even know who that is. There's just some old man. He looks like a live action version of the guy from Up, just an old man with those giant square glasses. I don't even know who that is. And so the person who's reaching into the camera with these tattoos on his arm, he is like peeling back the scalp of the man that's sitting like that's facing away from the camera. He's like peeled open the scalp of the man, and underneath his scalp where his skull should be, it's the earth. It's like we see the globe is inside of his head. And then the skin flap of his scalp as the person is lifting it up, it says Verhoeven, or I'm assuming it says Verhoeven's toupee, but all we can see is it says Verhoeven. And then the text on this image says Deep Cut Salon, walk-ins welcome. And this is like it's not a meme, but it's not even like made by a human. Like this reminds me, especially because of like the weird like evolutionary like design of the tattoos on the head, where it's like our faces growing out of each other, and then like there's these two faces of these like deep cuts reference characters growing out of each other, and then underneath them is some other old man that isn't even really a deep cuts reference. I don't even know what it is. It reminds me of those like deep dream Google like AI generated images where you like feed like an image into it, and then it like turns it into a bunch of like faces of dogs and stuff that are all like morphing and like evolving out of each other.
So it's, the text is Deep Cut Salon, walk-ins welcome. And the only thing I would say to this is that it kind of feels like it should be walk-ins, outs, and nitty-gritties welcome. So because of that, I'm going to give it a 9.5. Otherwise, I would have given it a 10.
Wow. That's the penalty.
Excuse me, I'm terribly sorry. I'm a little befuddled, but I think this might be a Hugh Grant. No, it's not. It's
Mickey Rourke. I'm giving this a full 10 because I hate puns. Let's take a brief detour here. We've been blazing through the memes, the meme chef entries from the Facebook group. Let's take a brief detour here to look at a couple of memes from the Discord channel. So there are 4 memes here. I think they're actually all from the same person. No, they're not from the same person. So, are there, maybe there's just 3. Is there 4? What is that? No, there's 4. So the first one is from a Discord user.
Oh, God damn it.
named Lagariha. And it's that "is this a butterfly" meme, the anime guy who's like looking up in the sky at a moth, and it says, "Is this a butterfly?" or whatever the original meme is. So the anime guy, it says he's Dave, and then he's looking at a floating statue, and then it says, "Is this Buddhism?" which is a reference to when we were doing the episode on Arthur Conan Doyle, whenever we were talking about John something Budd. George Turneville Budd. George Turnevine Budd. And there was a paper about him, and they were talking about like fans of his, and they were called Buddhists.
And I misread it as Buddhists. Yeah. God damn it. I give that one
from
2.
Lagartija.
2.
2?
2.
Just because it points out your flaws?
2.
People call me corrupt. People say I'm corrupt.
2.
At least I'm honest with myself.
Pizza, more like failsa.
This gets a 6 from me. This next one is from I Hate You Josh on Discord, and it's that meme that's Wolverine from the X-Men animated series, where he's like laying on a bed looking at a photo, and then it cuts to the photo as he's like lovingly touching it, and they'll put things in the photo that are funny. And so in this one, my face is added onto Wolverine's face, and then whenever it turns around to look at the photo that I'm looking at, it's a picture of "You think I'm gonna say no, Dave."
I love this, and I choose to believe that when we're not talking, you're not cradling your children or embracing your wife. You're just sitting on a bed dressed as Wolverine looking at me.
I mean, it's not even, those other things don't even happen.
Congratulations, you are now the premium pizza paparizza meme chef.
I love this. This is, again, one of those just simple, clean, nice, to the point memes. It's great.
All right. So this next one, I just have to set it up. I fucking love this meme. It's so amazing. I love it so much, and it's probably going to destroy any of the goodwill that I Hate Josh has gained from you from this photo. But that's because you are corrupt and jaded and incapable of self-reflecting whenever people point out your flaws.
Oh no. Oh no.
All right, so it's that King of the Hill meme where it's a bunch of people inside of a school, and then I think Bobby Hill holds up a sign for them to read, and then Hank Hill, I think it's Hank Hill, or maybe it's Dale. I don't remember. But he says like they would, if those kids could read, they'd be very upset. And so there's a lot of messages that people put into this meme. So in this version, Bobby Hill has my face on him, and I'm holding up a sign against the window of this school, and I'm saying Chiquita bananas are basically the only kind of banana there is, and the company has committed genocide and other atrocities. And then it turns around to show that the kids inside of the classroom, it's a bunch of Daves. It's all just, they have you think I'm going to say no Dave face on them. And then on the chalkboard in the classroom, it says, "Not a school. This is Arizona." The adult, which I think might be Hank, or maybe it's the other character, He's got Hilsmer's face on him, and he says if those Daves could read, they'd be very upset.
I love this. Despite your prediction that I would hate this, I love this. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 9.
Fly, you fools!
To the Elijah Wood.
I think I would like it just a little bit more if they weren't all just the "you think I'm gonna say no" face in the window. If there were different me's, I think the joke would hit even. Maybe it wouldn't actually. I don't know. Maybe I should give this higher, but I'm giving it a 9.
This gets a 10 from me. I love this one. It's so great.
Yeah, it's really solid. It's really solid.
And the last Discord meme is from somebody with this username Chloe, and it is just a photo of Andrew WK from a promotional photo for Destroy Build Destroy, which was a show he had on Cartoon Network, and he's holding up he's standing on a rock, and then he's got a TNT detonation plunger on the rock, and he's about to push it down, and the rock has us on it.
This is solid. I'm gonna go 6.
6.
Now that's a mildly spicy pizza.
I'm giving it a 5.5. Back to the Facebook group memes. God dang it, get the fuck out of the way. This next one is that's too inside baseball. This next one's from Eric Dyring, and it is a photo of a man who has a graduated series of rectangular shapes that are stacked up like dominoes, except for each one is bigger than the other one. So it starts out from a little tiny little white triangle or rectangle, and then it gets bigger and bigger, and then the very final one is this big giant white rectangle, and if you push one down, it'll knock the rest of them over like dominoes. Though the tiniest one, the one that he's about to knock over to start the chain reaction, it says becoming a ship surgeon in the 1880s. And then the biggest one at the very end is Buffalo Wild Wings stopped selling tater tots, implying that one would lead to the other.
I love this. 8.
8. Fellini Jr.
Oh, look, it's Fellini Jr.
I'm going to have to agree. That's a Fellini Jr. for me as well. Josh Wall with more propaganda. This isn't a meme. This is agitprop. It's a picture of a guy. The first panel is him just kind of looking in the camera, and then it closes up on his face more, and then the final shot is just up on his eyes, and they're red. And it says, "Everyone after Andrew names himself champion again." I didn't name myself champion. I was crowned champion through my feat of enormous power.
I agree wholeheartedly with this message, but it's not all that funny. So I'm going to go blah special.
Wow. I mean, that's a pretty high score if you think it's not that funny.
Orders up. Who had the blah special?
Which just shows how corrupt you are and how tainted against me you are, that you would give it such a high score because it satisfies your own emotional truth to believe this misinformation about me.
Yeah, pretty much.
This next one's from Cody Voiles.
God fucking damn it.
And it is a stock photo of a guy sleeping peacefully. And it says, "How I sleep at night knowing the world is falling apart, but I made Dave Baker laugh at a Bob Barker cum meme."
Fucking 1.
Pizza Paparizza is not so sure about that one.
It's a sweet sentiment. It's a sweet sentiment, but anytime anybody brings up the Bob Barker cum runner, I'm just like, God damn it, really?
6. Another one from Cody Voiles. It's the Gru from Despicable Me going over a plan on a series of paper poster board meme. Lorenzo Baker's face is over Gru's face. So the first one says, "Create time travel." The second one says, "Go back in time to start a banana company." The third one says, "Forget you made an episode of Deep Cuts based on the genocide and recognize yourself." And then in the fourth panel, Lorenzo Baker's face has been replaced by the "You think I'm going to say no" Dave face. And he says, "Forget you," and it repeats, "Forget you made an episode of Deep Cuts based on the genocide and recognize yourself," implying that we went back in time, did a Chiquita, forgot, and then we discovered the Chiquita banana story, did an episode about it, having forgotten that we had done this and that we were Andrew P. and Lorenzo Baker. And then Dave recognizes himself in the past.
Yeah, this one's solid. Blah special.
Man, Adam Salzer says it's amazing.
Orders up! Who had the blah, blah, blah special?
I'm gonna give it a 7.5. Another one from Cody Voiles. It's the meme of like a little girl running away from an orangutan on a tricycle, and regular deep cuts Dave face is over the little girl, and then You Think I'm Gonna Say No Dave face is over the orangutan's head, and it says Davey Bakes trying to escape an inside joke that he never thought would be seen again. I'm not sure if he's talking about the You Think I'm Gonna Say No meme or the Bob Barker Come meme.
No, he's definitely talking about the You Think I'm Gonna Say No, because I talked about that on that episode, because I was like, it's so funny and also weird and kind of annoying to me that like one of the worst photos of me ever is now just like a horrible meme that tons of people use. So yeah, I'm gonna go 10, because this is really.
Congratulations, you are now the premium Pizza Paparizza meme chef.
Also, as I point out here in the comments of this meme, you doubt that I could be the champion in a fair and clean election, but I'm the one who created the You Think I'm Gonna Say No meme. I am become death, destroyer of Davies. Eric Dyring, it's a fucking Deus Ex Machina bullshit. It's the background from the game. It's got the Sherlock Holmes 2022 characters in front of it. Watson's holding a trombone because ska, and then it says deep cuts. Yada, yada, yada.
I mean, I want to give it a higher rating because I love Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd century, but I hate everything else about this. Can I give it a 3?
Better luck next time.
The rating I want to give it isn't even on the soundboard. More propaganda and lies.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God.
This one is from Ed Zachary. It is my winning masterpiece, the Deep Cuts mural I created that has every character ever featured in the show in it. And then over it is my face photoshopped onto Xerxes from 300, implying that I'm some kind of oppressive overlord who needs to be dethroned by a ragtag crew of 300 warriors.
I mean, it's on point. Ed Zachary is not wrong.
This is madness. This is treason. This is a call to war. I told you I'm retired. I've gone up into Mount Olympus, and I've dropped my chef's apron, never to be caked in flour again. And yet you tempt me, you taunt me, you challenge me to don the apron once again.
I'm gonna go 7.5.
7.5 almost makes Pizza Paparizza laugh.
I give this a calling the cops out of 10. One's from Aaron Dockery. It's a picture of a scene from Endgame where it's all the heroes fucking in the final battle at the end, and they're all crowded together, and they're in the giant field, and they're about to just go to war with the Thanos' men. And then it says Andrew's outro, referring to the outro in the Pizza Paparizza Memories Celebrizza special episode 1. And then the second one is the same shot, but it's the raw footage without any of the visual effects, where it's all on green screen, and the character who is riding on a Pegasus is actually just sitting on a big machine that's being like moved back and forth by dudes in green skin tight suits. And it says Dave's outro.
This is really funny to me. 8.
8.
Oh, look, it's Fellini Jr.
It's also just true. Like, your outro was so, like something that Fellini would have given, or not Fellini, Mussolini, or some sort of like dictator who was being carted off, this rousing, weird bullshit propaganda speech. And then mine was just like, it got interrupted in the middle, and the music didn't play as well because it was the third time we'd all heard it. Like, it was just a clusterfuck.
Wait a minute. So I get a Mussolini Jr. for that one?
Yeah, you definitely get a Mussolini Jr., yeah.
This one's also from Aaron Dockery. It's those Pawn Star guys or whatever show it is.
This is horrible. Look at those.
And he's using that same Uncanny Valley horrifying photo of me where he like face apped a smile onto my neutral face expression. So it's just like this terrifying smile that's not really mine. It's generated by AI, and it's just pure nightmare fuel. So it's my face like that put onto one of the guys, and then your face put on the other guy, and it says, best I can do is I win. Implying that somehow I cheated people out of the PPPMC by declaring myself the winner, even though in the canon of this show, the guys who are appraising the objects are the ones who know the true value of things. And when they say best I can do is X, that's because they know what it's really worth. They're not scamming them or ripping them off. They're telling them the true value of the things that they have. And the people just don't like to hear it because they want to believe that what they own is worth more.
7.
Orders up! Who had the blah, blah, blah special?
I give it a 9.5 because inadvertently it speaks the truth. This one's a little too baseball. Daniel McCrory has done the movie poster for Raising Arizona with Nick Cage in a mugshot, and he's carrying a baby. But it says Nicolas Cage, and it's just at the top one it has the name of the stars. It says Nicolas Cage, and then baby Dave Baker. And the little baby has Dave's face photoshopped on, and it says raised in Arizona. No school for this baby.
10.
Yeah, it's a 10.
Congratulations, you are now the premium Pizza Paparizza meme chef.
I also have to highlight this exchange here. So I commented on this. I've often considered Dave my third child, to which you said, I don't know if I should say fuck you or thank you, honestly. And I said, just say dada.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's solid.
This one's from Cody Voiles, and it is a picture of somebody sitting at a piano on a beach playing it, and the piano is on fire and flames are erupting from it. And the person playing the piano says, "This shall be my magnum opus." And then it says, Papa Pricey writing an entire album just for a podcast episode. And I posted a GIF of Michael Scott from The Office getting choked up and holding back tears because it was a lot of work. I wrote an entire album and recorded it all in the span of a month. I pulled several all-nighters. At one point I woke up at 7 a.m. I was up the entire day. I stayed up the entire night. I stayed up the entire rest of the day, and then I stayed up again until 3 a.m. and finally went to sleep. I recorded this whole album. Sleepless nights. I literally wore giant holes in my fingers. I had open wounds on my fingertips, and I still had to play. I recorded that entire guitar solo for Art and Values with just massive open wounds on my fingertips. And to see somebody finally acknowledging it in meme form it brings a tear to my eye.
7.
Hate you.
Orders up. Who had the blah, blah, blah special?
After that big impassioned speech and all that crying and 7.
Just for that, the Blah special has been officially retitled Heartbreak Hotel. Jim Valier's got one here where it's Scarface, Tony Montana, sitting at his desk, covered in piles of cocaine, and my face has been. I didn't even notice this the first time I saw this. This is actually really funny. I didn't notice I didn't notice what he had done here. So there's a picture of me that's just on my Facebook page. It was just a picture that my wife and I had taken in a hotel bathroom mirror, where there was just like I think it was cake that was like on our noses. So it's just like there's just like cake frosting on my nose. And so he took this picture of me and he put it onto Tony Montana's face. So it's like, it looks like I have cocaine all over my face like he does in the movie. And it says, in this country, you got to make the memes first. Then when you get the memes, you get the power. Then when you get the power, you get the pizza, paparizza, memerizza, celebrizza glory. Hooah!
Solid. It's solid. 8.
Did you forget for a second that you had to give it a score?
Yes.
Oh, look, it's Fellini Jr.
I think I'm going to give it a Fellini Jr. as well. This next one's from Aaron Dockery.
God damn it.
It is the cover photo for our Facebook group and just our show. It's the two of us standing, with our Mystery Treehouse Investigation Agency uniforms, where you have your flashlight and I have the magnifying glass, except for our heads have been replaced by beef and cheddars from Arby's, and we're holding Arby's sauce packets, and the show is called Meat Cuts. Every single day, wherever you get your meats, and there's an Arby's sign in the background.
10.
Yeah, you can't even do your little troll thing where you pretend like you hate it and pretend like you hate Arby's, because it's that good.
Congratulations, you are now the premium pizza paparizza meme chef.
I can see Aaron Dockery improving from a technical perspective. I mean, he's always been a strong meme chef, but creating memes and the technical aspects of graphic design are two different things. And we can see the usage of the shadow behind Dave's beef and cheddar head to give separation from mine and create depth, and the way that he's actually cut out and photoshopped the Arby's packet into our hands where it looks like we're grasping them.
10.
Another one from Aaron Dockery. This one's got some added context in a story. So there's a picture of Andrew WK playing with some Gundam models, some Gunpla, and he's holding them up and he's looking at them, and he's surrounded by boxes of Gunpla. And this was a promotional photo for an album of Gundam music that he had done several years ago. And Aaron Dockery has replaced the upper torso and head and arms of the two Gunpla that he's holding with Dave and I. So it looks like he's playing with little Dave and Andrew action figures. And then on the desk, where it was the CD that was the Gundam music CD that he was doing this promo photo for, he's replaced it with the label Deep Cuts Treehouse Mysteries Episode 2. And there's added context that I posted this on Twitter and tagged Andrew WK because I had a fairly good feeling that Andrew WK would retweet this. Because he retweets any pictures or of him where it's like pictures that people have taken with him, or pictures of him that people have photoshopped, where it's like putting him into funny situations or whatever, or he retweets any positive message about himself. So I had like an 80% certainty that if I posted this on Twitter and tagged him, that he would retweet it. Not even realizing that I was the same person from the podcast that he retweeted and called bullshit. He just wouldn't even realize the connection, and he would definitely retweet this. I was like 80% sure he would, because it's funny and it's good and it's interesting. And I just was like, if he sees this in his mentions, he will retweet it for sure. So I posted this. Deep Cuts listener Kill Thulu, who is also a Discord member and a Discord mod for the Deep Cuts Discord server, he commented on this post on Twitter and said something to the effect of like, yeah, and the new album is awesome. Andrew WK just put out a new album. Andrew WK retweeted Cthulhu's comment saying that the album was awesome, but not the photo. He didn't retweet the photo. He retweeted the comment on our photo from a listener. And Cthulhu printed and framed and hung the retweet.
7.
I was hoping it was going to be like 4 or something.
Orders up! Who had the blah, 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 blah special?
I really like this one. I'm giving this one a 9. This one's not really a meme. This one's also not really a meme, or it's too inside baseball. So Nick Smith has a meme where they're insinuating that we are a better version of Rhett and Link. So there's a picture of Rhett and Link from their show Good Mythical Morning, and then somebody presses a button on a keyboard that says upgrade, and then it cuts to us, and then the button says perfect. And I don't know whether we are a better version of Rhett and Link. I mean, in a lot of ways, I feel like Rhett and Link do a completely different thing than us, and it's not necessarily comparable. It's sort of apples to oranges, but also they are content creation industry veterans, and they've been doing this for like 15 years. So I wouldn't pretend to be better than them at making content. But I will say that the physical comparison has definitely entered my mind before on several occasions, that we happen to look very similar to them in relation to one another.
8.
Oh, look, it's Fellini Jr.
Yeah, I'll give it an 8.5, just for the flattery of the insinuation. Thanks a lot, Nick. This one's from Jim Valier. It's what is this from? I feel like I'm just like not. It's so photoshopped that I'm just like not
it's so photoshopped I can't tell either. But that turtleneck looks really familiar.
There's a person in a turtleneck. I'm sure if I saw the full picture of this, I'd recognize what it was. But it's so thoroughly photoshopped that I'm just not. I've lost sight of what the original screenshots are from. But it's somebody who is saying more, and then you can see their lower half of their face, and they're wearing a turtleneck, and then my eyes have been photoshopped onto them, and I'm saying more, and it's showing me with that creepy Aaron Dockery AI smile with a crown on my head. I almost said king hat.
King hat.
And then in the second frame, I'm screaming and I'm saying more, and then it's a bunch of my faces with a bunch of king hats.
Yeah, you look good in king hats, but I don't know that
I look good in them because it's my natural fucking essence.
God damn it. I knew I shouldn't have said that. You do look good in them, though. As far as people wearing king hats, you're like up there. 7.
So you're just saying 7.
Orders up! Who had the blah, blah, blah special?
You're vindicating the untrue propaganda that the points, the scores don't matter.
No, the points definitely matter. They definitely matter. 100% they matter.
All right, so this next one, this next one's from a new listener. They just joined the Facebook group. This is their first attempt at cooking up a meme in the kitchen. This new listener, their name is Spandrew Spice. And they actually have a sweet little message attached here. So Spandrew Spice joined the group, and they posted this, and they say, "Hey everybody, first time meme chef here. I've been listening to the show for a long time, but I finally decided to join the group and give it a shot. Hope you like my first attempt at submitting memes to the Pizza Paparizza Memorizza Celebrizza." That's a sweet little message. And
Andrew,
from both Dave and I, welcome to the team. Welcome to the meme chef team, Spandrew.
Read the meme, and then I have some questions.
Okay, so this meme, which I can already tell is very good.
I can already tell is very good. I can already tell.
It's basically, it's like, it's an evolution of that meme where it's Winnie the Pooh getting progressively more fancy, but it's been completely replaced. The template has been rebooted, and it's 3 "You think I'm gonna say no Daves." The first one is just a regular thing. "You think I'm gonna say no Dave." And it's a picture of that, and then it says, "You think I'm gonna say no?" And then in the second frame, it's the "You think I'm gonna say no Dave" picture, but the sort of smarmy look of the Leonardo DiCaprio character from Django Unchained in a shot where he's like has this really smarmy look on his face has been put onto Dave's face in a very good Photoshop job that is like genuinely convincing. And it says, do you think I'm going to reject you, good man? And then in the final one, it's that same picture of the very convincing, Photoshop face of Dave with the Leonardo DiCaprio smarmy look on him. But he's also has a monocle and a big, handlebar mustache and a top hat. And he's saying, perchance might you be laboring under the unique misconception that I would rebuff your insinuations? I mean, need I say that this is amazing? This is a full really 10.
This is good. I would probably go lower than that. I'd probably go like an 8, maybe.
No, it's 11. I'm going to add an 11 to the.
No, it's probably a little lower than that. But can you just click on the default photo for Spandrew Spice really quick?
That seems a little invasive.
Andrew,
why are we singling out this person?
Andrew,
we never do this for any other listener.
Andrew, this person supposedly lives in New York, and yet. Look at that photo. Andrew. Look at that photo. Andrew, their header is the Mandela effect. Andrew.
Yeah,
look at that photo. Look at that photo.
It.
That is the office that you and I used to work together in, and that's a photo of you with an eye patch on.
First of all, I've never lived in New York.
That's not it. This is bullshit. You made this. That's a photo of you that used to be your default photo on Slack at our old job, dude.
Not that I even have to dignify these frankly bizarre accusations with a response, but I've never lived in New York. It says that Spandrew Spice went to East High School. I went to West High School. It's literally the opposite direction. This person seemingly is so much of a fan of the Mandela effect that they have it as their cover photo. Just the word, the Mandela effect, with a picture of like a drawing of Mandela, like out of and in prison. You're talking about this picture. This is a photo. Number one, it's a picture of a window.
I know that window. I used to work next to that window. That's a window from when you had your desk before you moved to the other side of the room, when you were in Chris Fuentes' old office spot. Rich sat there after Chris Fuentes. I can go 3 generations deep of who sat in that chair. I know that window.
It's a picture of a window. This is like the most generic thing. Like this could be any window in the world. And as we know, it's in New York.
He's not in New York.
Unless he commutes to New Jersey or something.
It's on Wilshire Boulevard in Los Angeles, California, and that is a photo of you. From 3 years ago with an eye patch photoshopped on your face.
This person has an eye patch, which I do not, I have no need, I have no use for an eye patch. I've never had any kind of eye injury. I've never had a lazy eye. My stepdad did have a lazy eye years ago and he had to wear an eye patch to correct it, but we're not blood related, so that's not hereditary in any way. And yeah, I mean, I just don't wear an eye patch. I hate, as I've said before, I hate the Mandela effect. I went to West High School and you know.
All right, let's moving on. This is bullshit. That's you. This is a dummy account that you've made, but I don't care. Let's just finish this. This is ridiculous. We just have 2 left. Come on, let's just fucking finish this.
You've gone off the deep end. You are so insistent on trying to strip deserving winners of their championships.
8.
You're concocting literal conspiracy theories.
It's a fucking 8. Spandrew Spice is you, but I don't care. I just want this to be over. It's an 8.
We are knuckle deep in QAnon month, and you have become radicalized into a conspiracy theory.
We are not in QAnon month yet. That starts next episode. This is the Bob Kane episode.
I mean, even better. I mean, you have become so radicalized by those terrible Bill Finger's daughter paintings.
It's not Bill Finger's daughter, it's his granddaughter, Athena Finger.
Oh, that makes it worse. I was like, at least she's a little older. Maybe she's got some arthritis or something. But
no, she's like fucking 40 or some shit.
I'm at a loss for words on this one, Dave. We're just gonna move on because I find this so bizarre that you're saying this, but it's a 10 for me, Spandrew.
It's an 8 for me, Spandrew. Totally real person.
And then so this last two, this one's from Jay Bard.
Jay Bartlesby.
Jay Bartles and James. And it's that meme where there's two people in a car and the guy's driving and he asks if the person, the woman wants to listen to something and she says she doesn't like it. And then the next panel, he's driving by himself and she's been kicked out of the car and she's in the background looking angry. So the guy says, want to listen to the new Deep Cuts episode? And then she says, I don't like deep cuts. And then it cuts to him driving with her outside mad as he drives away. And it says, I'm Andrew Price and I'm Dave Baker on this episode of Deep Cuts, which great meme. Love it. You mixed up the order of when we say our names though.
I'm Dave Baker and I love this meme and I'm going to show some favoritism. I'm going to give it a 10. Thank you.
Give this a 10, but that masterpiece.
Thank you for helping us set up the Discord server, Jay Bard.
I mean, yes, Jay Bard is a detective level clearance and the architect of the Deep Cuts Discord server. But you're going to give this one a 10 and that wonderful, priceless masterpiece an 8? You've lost it. You've lost your mind.
Congratulations, you are now the premium Pizza Paparizza meme chef.
I'm gonna give it a 9.5 because I mean it's a very good meme, but it just logically it can't have the same score as the previous meme from Spandrew because that wouldn't make sense. And this final one is from Ed Zachary, and it is. It's a little hard to explain because it's kind of all over the place, but not in a bad way. It is very funny. I'm just having trouble figuring out how to like describe it. But there's a panel and it is a picture. I can never remember this guy's name. His name just does not stick in my head. But it's the guy from episode 2 of Arthur Conan Doyle, the guy who was the Sherlock Holmes, scholar who kills himself and elaborately stages it like it's a Sherlock Holmes murder mystery. I feel like Andrew might be in his name somewhere, but I just can't remember his name. So it's him, and he's standing next to a babe in a one-piece bikini in like a pool or a hot tub or something like that, and she's just like looking at a TV that's outside of the hot tub, and she's pointing a remote control at it. And then next to that is a picture of Mothman. And then the camera zooms in a little bit more on the Sherlock Holmes guy, and then he's still staring at Mothman. And then it gets even closer to him, and he says, well, you gonna say it? And then Mothman doesn't say anything. And then the final panel, Mothman says, nah. And then it cuts to the other one, and then next to the woman who is looking at the TV, it shows that she's watching The Friend Zone, which is in the Twilight Zone font, but it's The Friend Zone. So this is the coalescence of two different inside jokes. So in the Arthur Conan Doyle Part 2 episode, we talked heavily about how this guy looks like he was born in the friend zone. We talked about the friend zone a lot. We joked around about it a lot, and just him being in the friend zone and generally just being in the friend zone. So he's in this room with this attractive woman, and he's wanting Mothman to say, we gonna fuck. But Mothman won't say it because they ain't gonna fuck because that guy is in the friend zone.
8.
8? I thought it was pretty good. I liked the way it brought the two.
Oh, look, it's Fellini Jr.
I give this one a 9.
All right, so now who's gonna take the prize of the Pizza Paparizza Memerizza Celebrizza Winnerizza?
I think
it's gotta be. It's gotta be.
I sort of have two kind of in my mind. It's really like, for me, it's a toss up between Aaron Dockery's meat cuts, but I kind of feel like I feel like I'm leaning more towards the fancy "you think I'm gonna say no" meme
from Spandrew Spice.
Okay, you know, never mind. You know what? Never mind. We're not even gonna get into this. I feel some weird hostility from you. I don't even want to get into this, and I'll just say fuck it. You know, I'm sorry, Spandrew. I think you were the clear winner, but that was an amazing meme. But like, this weird vibes I'm getting from Dave right now. I just don't want to deal with it right now. So I think we're probably, that aside, if we put that handicap on this and say we cannot consider Spandrew's meme, that's out of the equation for whatever weird thing you've got going on, whatever your weird hangups are. If we're just looking at the other memes, I think it's clear that Meat Cuts by Aaron Dockery is the champion.
Meat Cuts is who I'm going for.
Well, you heard it here on this edition of the Pizza Paparizza Memerizza Celebrizza. Aaron Dockery is this week's Meme Chef champion.
Congratulations, you are now the premium Pizza Paparizza Meme Chef.
And this has been another
Pizza Paparizza Memerizza Celebrizza.
Deep Cuts is a production by Boy Genius Media. If you'd like to find this show and others like it, please visit boygeniusmedia.com or deepcutspod.com.
If you want to join in on post-episode discussions, please join the Deep Cuts Podcast Facebook group. Finally, subscribe to our YouTube channel for additional video content.